What is your name?
My name is Lisa Rudzinski.
What do you do here?
I am the Homeland Security law enforcement teacher.
What made you go into law enforcement?
I wanted to help people, and I had worked at an attorney's office and found that that was after somebody had already been charged with a crime, and I wanted to be out where the action was. I wanted to investigate crimes, help people, solve cases, help victims, and so I decided to pursue a career in law enforcement.
Speaking of cases, what is the most known case you've worked on?
There are several. I worked 21 years with the Kentucky State Police, so there are several cases. Probably the most well-known case was the investigation of the death of a census worker in Clay County, Kentucky. He was found dead in a wooded area with a rope around his neck, and the case generated significant media coverage. People thought it was suicide, some people thought it was a homicide, some people didn't know, and I was the commander of the London State Police Post and supervised that investigation. And it took several months before we came out with our conclusions, and ultimately we concluded that it was a suicide. But that case was probably the most well-known. It received international coverage.
What is one piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Ooh, that's a good question. A piece of advice I would give my younger self. Push yourself harder, reach higher. When people tell you no, try anyway. Nothing is impossible. And make sure you remember every moment because time goes by so quickly.
And going back to working on cases, what is the hardest case you've ever worked on?
The hardest case, there were two of them. The two hardest cases that I ever worked on both involved child homicides. One was a 21-month-old little boy, and another one was a 23-month-old little boy. And I was tasked as the lead investigator to investigate those homicides. Those were the two toughest cases.
Let's go on a different route. What do you think about fake news?
I think fake news is causing all kinds of problems. I think that fake news appeals to a lazy news media audience who just take what is provided to them at face value without doing any kind of research. It's shared so quickly through social media. It has the potential to really damage people's lives and democracy.
Speaking of social media, how do you feel about social media and the way they portray cops?
I use the term police officer instead of cop, and I think that social media is just part of our life, and people need to recognize and realize that social media maybe captures snippets of what this profession and what this career is like, and to not stereotype an entire profession of individuals based on the actions of or parts and pieces of actions of just one or two people. But I think it's very damaging to the career. I think it's very damaging to potential future police officers who may now reconsider the career based on the social backlash that very few people have about this profession. But it breaks my heart.
Have you ever been a victim of police stereotypes?
I'm sure that I have. I'm sure that I have. As a Kentucky State Trooper, we all wore the same uniform, and I mean, I would be called sir. People would see that uniform and stereotype me as sir, even though I was not a male in that job. I've probably been stereotyped as a female. People had perceptions or misperceptions about me because of my gender. I've been stereotyped by gender, I've been stereotyped by police officer. What I found was when I joined the ranks of the Kentucky State Police is that some people I thought were my friends turned out not to be my friends. My true friends stayed my friends, and people who may have not been true drifted apart, drifted away from me as a result. But, I had to be true to myself. I had to be true to my profession. I took an oath that I still honor and live by this day, which is what I'm trying to instill in these young people.
What made you start teaching at Eastside?
When I retired from the Kentucky State Police, I was looking around for different opportunities to stay involved in law enforcement, and this opportunity came up, and I was very intrigued. I hired and recruited and trained Kentucky State Troopers for several years, and I saw the quality of applicants we were getting, and I recognized that when this job became available and I pursued it, that I could still make a difference in the career field that I had chosen and had devoted my life's work to by helping these young people identify if this is a career option for them and to help ensure that they get off on the right foot. So many applicants, when they would come to us, had already made poor choices that kicked them out of our process. And one of my responsibilities to these students is to help them make sure that they don't make those poor choices if this is something that they want to do. Equally, I want them to know truly what the profession is so that they can maybe decide now that maybe this isn't the profession for me. Either way, the students in this class learn life skills that will benefit them regardless of their career path.
Have you ever had to sadly arrest one of your students before?
No, I was not a teacher until a year ago. And so I'm no longer a sworn police officer, so I don't have the powers of arrest, and I'm not actually out on the streets. Like, my job is teaching now. I'm not actually a police officer. I am a retired police officer teaching them about the career path. So thankfully, no. But I have, over the course of my career, arrested friends and a few colleagues, and a sitting sheriff in a county. I've arrested attorneys, doctors. Sadly, people from all walks of life do commit crime.
Which job do you prefer?
Oh gosh, I don't think you could do one without the other. I loved being a police officer, and it will be who I am for the rest of my life. And I especially love being a Kentucky State Trooper. But at this phase of my life, there's nowhere else I'd want to be than in front of this class, helping these kids, watching these students grow and become the people who are going to lead the department that I loved so much, as well as numerous agencies across this country. So I could not pick a favorite. I couldn't be here without my experience with the Kentucky State Police. And I can never separate myself from the Kentucky State Police. But I also recognize that the trooper in me is now helping train future police officers, so they just go hand in glove.
And one last question. How do you feel about the presidential inauguration today?
I think that it's a very important time for our country. I respect our Constitution. I'm trying to instill that in our students. We are watching the inauguration today. We have followed the election process, and the fact that, good, bad, or otherwise, we all have a vote. And our voice is our vote. And whether you voted for or against our president-elect, he is now our president. And I support him, and I encourage the students to support him, but also recognize that you have to challenge government when you need to. That it is a somber occasion, it is a celebratory occasion. We are one of the only countries in the world that demonstrates a peaceful transfer of power, and it is something that I think all Americans need to remind ourselves. And you know, the Constitution came about, and our country came about, and some of the words in there, to form a more perfect union. We continually strive for that. And as citizens, it is incumbent upon each of us to remember that it's not somebody else striving for that more perfect union. It's all of us. So today is a very happy day as far as the celebration of what our country is about.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Is that okay?